The media spotlight is always on the stars of the team, those with outrageous numbers, and hardly any attention is paid to the silent workers. The not-so-flashy players do important work for the team, the stars won't shine as bright without them. When you think of underrated NBA players, which player comes to mind? Do you think they would be on our list? Keep watching to find out. This video looks at 10 of these underappreciated players of the last decade. We start with the 10th player on the list, Otto Porter Jr. Porter only played in 42 games during the 2019, 2020, and 2020-21 seasons due to injuries. However, he still showed the defensive flexibility and three-point shooting that helped him become a vital rotation player for the Golden State Warriors during their 2022 championship run. His position here is assured by the combination. Porter's averaged 10.6 points, 1.3 three-pointers, and 1.1 steals in just 26.0 minutes per game since joining the league in 2013-14. His career three-point percentage of 39.8 is just outside the top 50. Even if these statistics look mid, they represent precisely the kind of gap-filling game that teams with high-volume guards like John Wall, Bradley Beal, Stephen Curry, and Klay Thompson require. When he is on the floor, his team averages plus 2.2 points per 100 possessions compared to negative 1.9 points per 100 possessions when he is not. At number 9 is Enes Freedom. Understandably, Enes Freedom's defense has dominated discussion of his game over the years. He has frequently appeared clumsy on the side of the court and had trouble keeping up with more athletic perimeter players. However, Freedom can be a dominant force for extended periods in the appropriate role, which is a ferocious post player and rebounder off the bench. As he did with the Oklahoma City Thunder and Portland Trail Blazers, he's averaged 19.9 points and 13.7 rebounds per 75 possessions over the last 10 years. No one else in the league matched or exceeded both of those numbers over the same period. He's also ranked in the top 10 in NBA history in both career rebounds and offensive rebounding percentage. Since the start of the 2019-20 season, his teams have been plus 6.4 points per 100 possessions with him on the floor and only plus 2.6 without him. Up next at number 8 is Rudy Gay. Rudy Gay has been underappreciated for most of his career. Only 7 players in the league history have ever amassed more points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, and threes than Gay in his career, regular or postseason. Even if his scoring wasn't particularly effective, he has been a reliable source of raw production over the past 15 years. Particularly in the past 10 years, Gay has developed into a multi-seasonal defender who positively impacts the club's bottom line. Since the 2012-13 season, his clubs have been a plus 1.4 record with him and minus 1.8 record without him. Gay has evolved into a clearly positive player who is significantly different from the player he was earlier in his career by embracing life as a de facto 4, committing more fully to defense and shooting well enough from 3 to keep opposing bigs out of the paint. Coming in at number 7 is Patty Mills. Patty Mills is the 13th on the number of win shares in the history of the San Antonio Spurs. While at Spurs, his shooting from beyond the arc was 38.9%, but that is not by far his only contribution. Mills has been one of the league's most consistent backups over the past 10 seasons, averaging 9.6 points, 2.4 assists, and 1.9 three-pointers in just 21.8 minutes per game. During that time, his team had a plus 5.7 point per 100 possessions when he played and a plus 2.6 point per 100 possessions when he didn't. Despite being only 6'1", Mills favorably competes in defense. He wouldn't have established himself as a pillar of the Greg Popovich coach Spurs if he hadn't. Making this list at number 6 is James Johnson. Despite not being a prolific three-point shooter, James Johnson delivered nonetheless. Few players during his career have been able to blend defense, playmaking, and slashing as he did. Only 3 players in league history, Vlad Divac, Julius Erving, and Kevin Garnett, have ever matched or surpassed all of Magic Johnson's career numbers for points, 14.3, rebounds, 6.6, assists, 3.9, blocks, 1.6, and steals, 1.4 per 75 possessions. Johnson has been able to use that well-rounded productivity from either forward spot thanks to his stature, 6'7" and 240 pounds, and quickness. He has also played possessions at the 5 a few times in recent years. Johnson's initiative on defense, especially while he was playing for the Miami Heat, helped to make up for his shortcomings as a jump shooter. Has any player on your own list come out of the list so far? If they have not, keep watching. They might just be in the final 5 players. Heading to player number 5, we have George Hill. George Hill began his career at the San Antonio Spurs after leaving his position as Tony Parker's backup. George Hill's career began to take off. Hill took over the Indiana Pacers full-time starter in 2012/13. Over the next 4 seasons, the Pacers finished 9th in the league in terms of winning percentage. Like those of the other players featured here, Hill's stats don't jump out at you. During those 4 years, he averaged 12.8 points, 4.1 assists, and 1.6 three-pointers while shooting 37.7% from 3. However, his influence was evident. Indiana was plus 5.9 points per 100 possessions when Hill played and negative 0.4 when he didn't. He was the perfect floor general for a team with a ball-dominant wing like Paul George. He hasn't seen a negative net rating swing since his sophomore season in 2009/10. At number 4, there is Danny Green. Danny Green is one of the NBA's finest examples of how simple statistics don't convey the whole picture. Green has been in a tie for 254th place in points scored per game, 236 rebounds per game, and 238th in assists per game since 2012-13. That hardly qualifies as most underestimated content. However, Green's game has always been much about more of the fundamental box score figures. He has been among the league's top perimeter and transition defenders for the previous 10 years. He was used as a specialized option to counter an opponent's top option or in switch-heavy systems. Green was far from a liability on offense, in contrast to several other defensive aces of the time, such as Tony Allen or Andre Robertson. Since 2012-13, he has made 2.03s a game on average, connecting on 39.8% of his long-range shots. Out at number 3 is Danilo Gallinari. Danilo Gallinari is one of the top Moneyball offensive players in the league. Before all-stars like Jrue Holiday and Pascal Siakam, Gallinari was among the top 50 league-wide in box plus/minus over the previous 10 years. During his 5-year peak, which lasted from 2015-16 to 2019-20, he averaged 18.8 points, 5.4 made free throws, and 2.2 three-pointers per game while shooting 39.6% from three-point range and 89.3% from the line. When he was on the court, his team averaged plus 2.6 points per 100 possessions and lost 1 point per 100 possessions when he wasn't. His ability to make threes and drop chips onto the main line maintained his true shooting percentage over average in all but 1 season of his career. Thanks to these factors, Gallinari's career offensive box plus-minus is in the top 80 of all time. Up next at the second spot is Paul Millsap. Paul Millsap worked as a rebounder and garbage man for the Utah Jazz for much of his early career. One of the league's most overlooked success stories is how he transformed into a big forward with point forward abilities and the capacity to guard 3 or 4 spots. His mastery of this skill got him into 4 All-Star games. It may seem a stretch to label a player with so many individual awards underrated. Still, Millsap's final 10 years were better than most people think. Millsap had 8,958 points, 4,435 rebounds, 1,629 assists, 825 steals, 605 blocks, and 523 three-pointers throughout that time. Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, and Scottie Pippen are the only 4 players in league history to have amassed such a total during any 10-year span, and Millsap has played only 140 games in the final 3 years. He genuinely performed a variety of tasks for the Hawks and Denver Nuggets. He could post up, make a few shots from the outside, make threes, grab rebounds, and defend all over the court. Up on the top of the list is Joe Ingles. Ingles has a 59.9 true shooting percentage, 21.2 assist percentage, and a 1.8 steal percentage throughout his career. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Stephen Curry, James Harden, Magic Johnson, Nikola Jokic, and John Stockton are the only other players to equal or exceed all 3 milestones with at least 100 100 3-point attempts. With the Utah Jazz, Ingles used all of the threes, assists, and steals that contributed to those advanced stats to tremendous effect. During Ingles' 8 seasons in Utah, the Jazz finished 6th in the league in terms of winning percentage. Their point difference was greater while he was on the court. At his best, Ingles had a defensive game that could frustrate a player like Paul George. He showed the capacity to serve as the main playmaker in an offensive. In terms of a career 3-point percentage, he is among the top 25 of all time. We have now come to the end of this video. What are your thoughts about this list? Did any of the players in this list make yours? Did any of the players in this list make yours? Did any of the players in this list play for your favorite team? Leave your answers in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.